Welcome back to the Side Hustle Sport Podcast, the podcast that allows you to get a bit of exposure to the sports that might not get as much of it as they thoroughly deserve. Today, we are talking about speed golf. If you see a load of washing in the background, I'm going on holiday. Leave it out. It's fine. If you're only listening to this, then that's better than if you're watching this probably for this particular episode. Anyway, speed golf, surprise wins, surprise entries, fantastic stories. That's what we're focusing on for this particular one. And speed golf, let me tell you, it is a diamond in the rough, right? It is the answer, in my opinion, to golf's age-old problem that a lot of people always have with it. Ooh, it's a bit long, it's a bit dull, it's a bit boring. We went to create content at the British Speedgolf Championship at Sunningdale Heath a couple of weeks ago, and I have to say, by the time we made a load of B-roll footage and we saw the first people sort of teeing off, and we thought, right, we probably just about got enough. The first people who were teeing off were already coming back. I'll explain how fast they are in a little bit, but it was absolutely sensational. And we do speak to our new British champion, James Hardy, in about, hopefully, 10 minutes' time, if I can keep this concise. I've already recorded it once and I went to 15 minutes. I didn't want it to be that. I wanted it to be 10. So I'm going to probably speak quite quickly because there is quite a lot to get through. First of all, what is speed golf? Well, speed golf essentially is golf really fast. If you are struggling to think, well, how can the scoring system really make a difference? Well, they add the strokes you take to get round the course to the overall time it takes you to get round the course. So basically, if you go round a course, and let's say Sunningdale Heath, which is a par 58, let's say you take 60 shots to get round, and it takes you half an hour to do those 60 shots and to get through the finishing line, that means you get a speed golf score of 90. Do you understand what I mean? Hopefully you do. For instance, I believe it was Luke Willett in 2023. His championship run, he made 67 strokes to get round, and he did it in 25 minutes and 39 seconds, meaning he got a score of 92.39. Do you get where I'm coming with this? Yeah, it has to be quite specific because people really do finish that closely to each other, where 0.39 actually makes a big difference. There's fewer clubs. I'm just making sure I get all these. There's fewer clubs. There's also a start and finishing position. Now, if you are a fan of motorsport, you may well have seen in previous Le Mans back in the day, I think they even still do it in some places, where there is a buzzer. And instead of starting in the car, when the clock counts down to, let's say, 8 a.m., the drivers are actually on the other side of the track from the cars, which are parked up. They have to run to the car, get in, strap themselves in, start the car, and off they go. Well, in speed golf, it's very much the same. When the buzzer ticks down to 8 a.m., the first person on the tee box has to then run from the start line, which is the back of the tee box, basically, to where they need to take the shot from, the tee, put the ball down, put the tee in, take a shot, away you go. And that's for people, some people really get very particular about the amount of seconds it takes them to finish around. They don't even bother putting a tee down. For me, I would have to. But they also, and then they have to finish on 18. There's no just putting the ball in, turn around, nice wave, thank you very much. No, they put the ball in, gather their clubs up, and then sprint across the finish line. So it is really, really interesting. It makes this sort of really communal atmosphere at the end of one of the races. Oh, I say races. That is what it feels like, but at one of the ends of rounds of golf, I suppose, and where everybody's cheering them to get across the line and people are sort of diving across the line. It's really cool, actually. And as I said, makes for a big stadium finish almost. That's what it feels. It brings the atmosphere up. I'm a massive fan, if you can't tell already. Also, a few other things. The equipment. They use fewer clubs. Normally, you have a bag of, let's say, 14 clubs. Drivers, all the way down to putters, wedges, 9 irons or something like that. You don't get that in speed golf, right? Because it's far too heavy. It's far too cumbersome. You need to be able to get around the course quickly. Some people do people do still take a bag, but it's a tiny little bag and they have about 4 clubs in it. Some people just carry clubs. I saw one person, he just took a 9-iron. I assume it was a 9-iron by the distance he was hitting it. Maybe it was even a pitching wedge. And he just took that round, which means he was driving with a 9-iron. He was wedging with a 9-iron and getting out of bunkers and stuff. And he was putting with a 9-iron. I'm not too sure which player that was, so I have no idea how well they scored. But it was a fairly impressive feat. And that way, you do only have to carry 1 club. Most people carry 4 or 5 because a lot of people say not having the putter is not worth it. You really should have the putter. And James Hardy has a really interesting way of taking his clubs around with him. And actually, he's experimented quite a lot, as has everybody. But I'll let him explain that a little bit later. Right, history and growth of speed golf. Well, it was in 2014 is when it started, and those of you who are pretty quick at maths will know that that means they've had 11 iterations of the championship now, and it is only going from strength to strength. So much so that actually in 2025 they had a waiting list to get on to Sunningdale Heath, to get on to the British Championships, which I'm hoping next year means that they want to do a Saturday and a Sunday, because they only did the Sunday. Everybody turned up on the Saturday to practice, but if they have a waiting list, could we do it over 2 rounds? Could we do it over 2 days? I think that'd be really exciting and make a proper atmosphere. You know, have a little bit of a barbecue or something on the Saturday night. That'd be epic. Do it a bit like the Tag Fest do, but splitting it over 2 days. Right, in past hosts of courses, we had Dale Hills, which it was hosted at the Boar's Head Golf Centre. Then it was Bear Hills, Piltdown, Fox Hills, most recently Sunningdale Heath. There have been no notable others, but it's Sunningdale Heath at the moment. Rob Hogan won multiple titles. Chris Benions, George Boxall, recent champions. 2023, it was Luke Willett. There's loads of others. And there is even more categories now, because that is one of the ways that speed golf has expanded its sort of appeal to a lot of people. You do have pros playing, but if you're like me, I'm a 16 handicapper, and you feel a little bit intimidated going against scratch golfers, don't worry, plenty of other people do as well. The biggest category that the British Speed Golf had this year was in the men's amateur category. George Boxall took the overall victory for that particular one, and he made his way into the top 20, but I'll explain that in a second. The amateur champions had a total of 39 players taking part. George Boxall went round with a Speed Golf score of 91.32. It took him 65 strokes to get round the par 58 course, and he did it in 26 minutes and 32 seconds. Very quick. That was in his qualifying, but it was also what counted for the men's championship. So he took home the trophy. There is also the women's championship. Emily Mollard won in that particular one, 94.51. Went round to 64 strokes and ran it in 30 minutes and 51 seconds, which is an extremely impressive feat in itself. The top 7, I'll read out everybody because there was only 7 players in that one. Colette Blacklock, Beverly Fenterman, Kathy Leopard, and Britta Ushkamp were the top 5, and then Shelley Baxter and Sue Thornley were 6th and 7th. So, and I have to say, the camaraderie, the team effort that it felt like for the women's, even though they were all competing against each other, it felt like they were doing it as a team. It was really impressive. Smiles all over the place, plenty of support. The atmosphere was on point. The men's senior championship, they had 10 players in it. Adam Williams, who was actually also doing the presentations at the end of the evening. So if you've seen any of the British Speed Golf Championship, if you've seen anybody giving out trophies, it was Adam Williams. He came on top, so he had to give himself a trophy. 96.53. He went round to 64 and did it in 32 minutes and 53 seconds. Tom Hawkins and Ben Walmsley rounded out the top 3 in that particular championship. And in the juniors, Sebastian Wells, who is a player to keep an eye out on. In fact, all 4 of these are players to keep an eye out on. Took the top step of the juniors championship. Callum Neal was 2nd, Max Perry was 3rd, and Charlie Williams was 4th. The biggest difference between the juniors compared to the seniors is the amount of strokes that they took. Even in the men's amateur, Sebastian went round in 72 strokes, but he could run the course in 29.47, which is on par with a lot of the men's amateurs. So they're clearly fit enough. They just need to nail that golfing ability, which I suppose is probably what you predict in the junior championships. I am really sorry that I'm reading this really quickly. There's a lot to go through. Speaking of the amateurs, it gets a little bit complicated. Even though George Boxall won the amateur champions, it was actually Adam Harrington who finished ahead of him in the top 20. Now I have to explain the top 20. Any category that you compete in, if you are in the overall top 20 and you mix it with everybody and add the scores all put into one table, if you are in the top 20, you get a second round in the afternoon. And that is for the overall British Speed Golf Championship. So all the pros pretty much got through that, and there were only about 4 pros actually in that. The rest of them were filled with the amateur championship players. And I think there was one junior in the fact that Sebastian Wells got in as well. Then they added the morning score and the afternoon score all together to get the overall top 20. Whew. Right, Adam Harrington in the men's amateur came ahead of George Boxall once the scores were added together from the morning and the afternoon. That didn't mean he won the men's amateur though, because the men's amateur was decided in the morning. Adam Harrington did get into the top 3 though. He came 3rd, so very impressive for him. Right. getting on to James Hardy then versus Luke Willett, which is what the top two was in the end, and by quite some distance as well. James Hardy was actually slower than Luke Willett on the first round by 3 minutes. However, James did it in 59 strokes compared to Luke's 67. So you can see how much the strokes actually matter, because the running comparison on a short course like Sunningdale Heath, you can't gain as many shots by being a better runner than you can by being a better golfer. Now, I'm not saying James is a better golfer than Luke, but that's what the scores indicated from that first round, which means James Hardy came in with an 86.28 compared to Luke Willett's 91.29. And that was a lead Luke just couldn't really get back, even though they scored the same in the second round in strokes-wise, but Luke did a go again 3 minutes faster than James Hardy. Again, though, that first round, 59 strokes, was just too much for Luke, and James ended up taking the victory and the championship by 2.2, basically. 2.21, actually. Score on the overall speed golf, 177.31 to 179.52. It was extremely close, and it was a brilliant championship. And I'm not going to let James explain his story, because I do ask him about it, and I do sort of prod him into what got him involved in speed golf, what is his previous golf experience, who entered him, because it wasn't even himself who entered actually into the championship, and the great cause he was doing it for, he mentions at the end as well. So I'm going to segue myself into the interview, because he speaks about a fantastic atmosphere. He gives you more reasons to fall in love with the sport, and it's a bit more of a conversation than my previous interviews as well, which I was a big fan of, because I wanted this to be a bit more conversational, which is hard over a webcam, as I'm sure you can expect. So please enjoy the next 20 minutes or so with James Hardy, and I'll be back to round out the show. Thank you very much for watching. So I've probably introduced him in the cutaways that I haven't recorded yet, but I will get around to them. James Hardy has joined us, the new champion of speed golf in Britain. James, a massive congratulations. You mentioned a couple of times during your speech that your wife entered you into the competition last minute. We're going to get into that, but how does it feel to now be the top dog of speed golf in Britain?
Yeah, I don't think I've taken it in, to be honest. It's a huge surprise. I mean, I didn't know until the announcement that I'd won the tournament, to be honest.
Really? You haven't done the maths?
No, not really. I mean, look, being a newbie to speed golf, I wasn't concentrating on my time, so I knew what my score was, but I didn't know how fast I ran it, and so yeah, it was a surprise. I was overwhelmed, so it was a shock to the system. Came into the tournament. I obviously played the European Open before as a practice, but I've been playing speed golf for 2 months.
Oh, really? It's that little?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like to play golf fast anyway. So back home at my local golf course, I always get the first tee off time. Me and one of my friends, we're rounding probably just over 2 hours, job done. Then I've got the rest of the day to do what I want, right? See my family, everything like that. So my partners basically said, I found the sport for you. I was like, okay, what's going on? She's like, I've entered you in this speed golf event. And I was like, okay. I didn't think much of it, to be honest. I thought, it sounds like a school sports day or something, a bit of a charity thing. Just turn up and then, she was nagging me on the sofa saying, well, are you going to start training? I was like, well, I'll just turn up, shall I, and see what happens. And then obviously I started watching it on YouTube, and I thought, God, I'm really going to embarrass myself here.
Yeah.
So I was watching them thinking these people are going around. You've got like ultra marathon runners, people doing 5Ks in ridiculous times. And I was watching it. I actually had like a cold sweat on watching how good these people were at speed golf. So that happened, gave me a kick up the backside. And I thought, right, I've got to get training. And then I was invited to the British, obviously. I got an invitation to that. My partner did all the form filling in. We didn't get news for about 3 weeks later that I got I got in, which was nice. And then I did a last minute call. I looked at the schedule and realized there was the European Open, and I thought, you know what? Let's enter that, see what it's all about. And try.
That's the wrong way round, surely.
Oh, right, I know, but the European came before, so I thought I'd enter that. see what happens. And then obviously I learned so much during that event just to bring myself to the British. I mean, everything changed. I was doing some training, but my technique changed, my club selection, transition between shots. So everyone was so friendly. Like once I got to the European Open, and I was like, well, what do you do this, and how do you do this, and why are you using that equipment? So everyone was full of advice, and I took it on board. And I'm still should I say, a diamond in the rough. I've got so much to learn, which is lovely. And to be honest, I made so many mistakes during the British as well, where I can improve further next year.
So you mentioned a couple of things that you learned there. Obviously, you mentioned a lot that I wanted to delve into. But in terms of the training time and everything, you said you played for 2 months. When did you get entered? When did you enter? When did you start training? Because surely you already a fit bloke anyway. Surely, like if you go to the gym and do everything like that.
I mean, I've always been into my fitness. So I play golf for fun with my friends. We try and go around quickly, but I've always played football. So I've been playing that. I probably go to the gym 4 times a week. Always try and stay healthy. I mean, I know during COVID I was running a lot, and I managed to get my 5K time down to sub 20, which I thought was quite impressive.
I'd say so. If I get sub 30, I'm absolutely buzzed.
But I mean, it was quite funny because I was massively humbled when I went to the European Open, because obviously, being an elite speed golf event, I actually turned up thinking, I'm probably really fit for most PGA pros, So I turned up thinking the golf could be challenging, but the running, I'll breeze it. So anyway, so I did my first round, and my heart was coming out my chest, but I completed it, and I thought 50 minutes, and I thought, boy, that's fast. I can't see anyone beating that. And then I looked at the leaderboard and I saw people running it in 30. I think Luke Willett ran it in 39 minutes. And I was thinking, surely that's not humanly possible. And I was thinking, going into the tournament thinking, I'm really fit. I was like, I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I mean, a sub 25K, whether it's in lockdown or not, is very impressive indeed. But I think Luke did his first round at the British Speedgolf. Didn't he do it in like 24 minutes or something stupid?
He was seriously fast. Yeah, he was. But he ran it in the European. He ran a 39 and I ran a 50. So I'm already 11 shots off of him before I start my golf. Luckily, in both rounds, I've been playing good golf. So in the I think in the European Open, I think I shot 5 over, 2 over. And that was without like a proper practice round, because I missed my fight. So I could have saved some shots there. And then I was 1 over and I think 6 over for the British. So the golf was pretty good. Still made a lot of mistakes. But yeah, there's a lot of improvement to do on my fitness. I was massively humbled by how fit people were, ultra marathon runners. I think Luke, probably runs, I think he does the 5K in, is it 16 minutes or something?
It's ridiculous.
And I was like, there's a lot of improvement there for me.
You mentioned the equipment as well. I think that fascinates a lot of people. We did the interviews throughout the day. If people didn't know, I probably said it, that we were covering the speed golf and the media capacity. So anything you see on Instagram is probably filmed by us. And we've asked the people a lot about the equipment they were using, James. What did you turn up to at that European Open, and how did that change going into the British? Did you take like your full 14?
No, it's changed a lot. So I was still using 4 or 5 clubs, but so when I you know what, I was I did my research. I was watching a lot on YouTube of how everyone was doing it. Were they using a bag, everything? And then for the European, I decided to take the silo,
Right.
and then the first round, I was watching a lot of people, and I put the silo underneath my arm, and then
That's basically a
that.
super pencil bag, isn't it? It's the most pencil of pencil bags, the silo.
The silo is the clip which you clip your clubs in.
Oh, it's the clip. Sorry, yeah.
So anyway, I put that under my arm, and I was putting. It wasn't a bad putting round, but it just didn't feel natural. The spike which you stick into the ground, because I put a spike through it. That was in my line of view, looking at the ball. So I was thinking, it's good, but it doesn't feel great. So then the second round, I went to putting one-handed. Yeah. So
just right hand or just left hand?
I'm left-handed, so just my backhand, just my left hand. It was great for long putts, but you can imagine how high your heart rate's getting. The short putts, when you're shaking and your heart's coming out of your chest, I missed so many short putts.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was good. I was very impressed. You know, I think I finished 8th, so I was very happy with that being a newbie. But then for the British, I went back to the drawing board, and I upgraded my equipment. So I basically had the silo, had the spike going through it, and then I created a little wire 3mm loop, and then I had a hook on a belt which I hooked it to. So that gave me I'd basically have the silo, I'd hook it onto my back like a belt. I had like a tool,
right.
so I'd hook it onto my back, and that made both my arms free for a natural putting stroke.
So it's like the Batman of speed golf, that is, isn't it? Utility belt almost.
Yeah. So the first round of the British was interesting. So obviously it was a new technique, a new way to do it. The first round, I putted really well. Going back at my short game was very good. I remember going out starting strong. I was 2 under after 4.
I don't know how you do that. Do you warm up beforehand? How much of a warm up is there beforehand?
I was hitting some balls, some chips and putts.
Yeah. Is there a run to start with though? Do you go on an actual like cardio warm up? Because surely, like running those first 4 holes, your heart is going exploding as warm up.
I had a little jog, maybe 1K jog. Did some stretching, so I was good for it. So the round started really well, and the main thing I've learned during speed golf is to try and keep yourself calm. There's there's so much that can go wrong. Like sometimes you'll try and clip your clubs in your silo, they'll pop out, or you'll pick up the wrong club, or you'll put the ball down and it will fall off the tee, or if you're using a tee, there's so many different things that go wrong. So you've got to try and stay calm, compose yourself, and then it's never going to be a perfect round.
No, well, because if you take an extra 5 seconds over a shot, and that saves you slicing it, it's basically saving a minute, isn't it? Because you score plus your time.
Exactly. And then even during the 59, the first round, like quite a few things went wrong. Like I remember on the 6th hole, I hit a great putt, 30 foot, went into the hole, but someone hadn't put the flag stick back, so the ball popped out.
I remember you telling me about this. Yeah, it's so rogue, isn't it?
So I was like, that's one shot gone. And then I hit 2 4-irons on 2 separate holes. Weren't the best contact, but they were dead straight. They weren't in the trees or trouble or anything. And I couldn't find the ball. So had 2 penalty shots there. So I was looking back at that round thinking, God, I probably should have been 3 better. I probably should have been a couple under.
Well, for people's perspective, I may have already said this in the introduction. I probably will. The par was 58, wasn't it? It was basically
right. Yeah.
Yeah, 14 par 3s and then 4 par 4s, wasn't it? So it's not a 72 round or anything. So when you say you hit 59, it wasn't a 72 par.
No. I mean that would that would be unbelievable. But the course is, it's not a pitch and putt, so it's a very challenging par 3 course, and to be fair, it's probably harder than the European Open, because the reason I say that is because you've got a lot of par 3s that are over 200 yards. Now, if you hit a bad iron shot on a par 3, it's very hard to come back from that. When we played the European Open, we had 5 par 5s. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I took driver for the European Open. Now, if I hit a good drive, I can reach all the par 5s in 2. So I've got great birdie opportunities. I mean, I remember during the European Open, I think I made 6 birdies one round.
Really?
Now, you're not going to do that in the British Open because you've got par 3s. You're not.
It's pretty much impossible.
You've got to hit the green. You've got to make the putts, so that there's no room for error.
Yeah.
So it was a different challenge, which was refreshing, but it definitely was a hard challenge.
Which one did you prefer? Because surely playing the par 5s means you have to run a lot further, so would it be advantageous to a better runner, a better runner?
I think at this stage, the British helped me out because the run wasn't as long, and running was my weakness. Golf was probably my strong point. But you know what? It's great that they can change it up.
Yeah.
So, it's. I think if you played the same course all the time, say it was 6,800 yards, so it's nice to put a short, tricky course in there.
Yes, I agree.
So,
Because it does
you know,
sort of equalize everybody's golf game almost, doesn't it?
yeah,
Rather,
and yeah, and it's the same when you play normal golf. It's nice to play tree line courses, then you play links. It's all different,
mm.
different. Everyone's got different skills in different parts of their game. It just makes it interesting.
It does. It does. Right. Looking ahead, then you mentioned you've already done 2 of these tournaments. The season's pretty much finished for golf, isn't it? Let's face it. We're going into autumn and winter. It's getting cold. It's getting windy and rainy.
That's right. Yeah.
What is the ambition for next year? Are you going to revisit this sport? Are you going to continue to keep turning up to these events, or are you sort of like happy you're the British, you're retiring, and you sail into the distance?
Retire on top, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nico Rosberg-esque.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, to be honest, I love it. So, looking back at my, I'm still learning, right? I've been playing for 2 months, so I'm a newbie. So that there's so much to learn. There's so many ways I can improve. So next year, I'd like to do the full schedule and actually see how far I can push it.
Yeah.
So
What do you think you'll change? What do you think you've learned over the last 2 rounds that you think, okay, I need to improve on that to go into next year then?
Yeah, no, exactly. My running can definitely improve. So I'm definitely going to be doing some more training, a lot of 5K, 10K runs, interval training. So I'm definitely going to try and push and try and get my 5K time down to maybe 18 minutes if I can.
That's strong.
That's a goal. That's going to help. I'm definitely going to work on my transition between shots.
Yeah.
Like if you set up and you do a shot and you've got a little wiggle or you pause for 3 seconds, over 70 shots, that's a lot of time, right?
Mm.
So I'm definitely going to improve on my transition. I'm going to tinker with my silo a little bit. It's version 2 at the moment. I've got a few ideas to improve it even further.
Yeah. It fascinates me as well, actually, because we're a sport that is right at the beginning of its sort of growth, shall we say, and it probably will explode, this speed golf, I think, because it does have such a large market of people that are young people who are getting into golf, who are sort of slightly younger than me, and they're sort of 25-year-old sort of thing. They're coming out of football, they're always injured, they don't want to be injured anymore, so they start playing golf. But then you get also this sort of generation who they're not going out, they're going on run clubs at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning sort of thing. It really does mix it well. Do you find it fascinating to go into this new sport where traditions and everything haven't really been established? People use all different types of equipment. You have the freedom to be able to mold it and do techniques that you want to do.
It's so exciting. It's probably like going back when people just started playing golf and they're making wooden shafts, wooden heads, and they're like, they're carving their putter, and it's very unique. There's loads of different techniques, loads of different ways to do it. I mean, if you look at golf, I was trying to explain to my friends, if you look at golf nowadays, it can be so robotic. I've got 150 yards, that's a 9-iron, that's this club, that's this club. But you're going around with, say, 4 or 5 clubs, you're like, I've got to hit a low punch, cut 6-iron, I've got to take 20% off this shot, I've got to hit a bump and run, So you really got to have a good skill level, and you really got to imagine the shot,
Yes. Yeah. Different types of swing as well and everything like that.
Different swings, half swings, there's so much to the sport, which is exciting, and it brings the enjoyment factor back. I mean, even when I was training and, I was like, so I'd have my 6-iron, I'm playing a par 3 and I know it's only an 80% 6-iron, and you pull that shot off, you get such a good feeling for doing that rather than just hitting your robotic, full shot every time and it goes near the pin, because you're increasing your skill level, and I'm sure it will help you in your normal golf game as well.
That's what I was going to lead on to. What did you play off like before you started playing speed golf? Was your handicap the same as it is now, but do you feel like you've got more shots in the arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a scratch golfer.
Yeah,
so
I probably could have predicted that, to be fair.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I went out, played collegiate golf.
Oh, really?
I came back, turned pro, realized I wasn't going to be the the next, Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods. And I thought, right, I need to earn some money and get a proper job. So then golf became a hobby, which was refreshing, really. So there's less pressure on it. I used to go out, play with my friends, have a bit of fun. And here I am now. So speed golf's a new challenge.
Yeah, no, as I said, I find it fascinating. And one thing that I really enjoyed as well, because me and Ian, we turned up, we didn't really know anything about speed golf. There isn't that much coverage of it. Yeah, okay, you can see clips of it on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of sports, let's use cricket as an example, test matches, people sat down and watched cricket for 5 days in a row, right? Then they went down to 1 days, then T20s, and now they're doing the 100. Sports are getting shorter and more digestible.
Yes.
Speed golf sort of feels like that answer, doesn't it, to the traditional 4-hour round of golf?
Without a doubt. I mean, I've always, when I play golf, I always try and get the first tee off time. So there's no one in front of me on the course. Because I'm impatient and I can't be dealing with these 4.5 hour rounds. So I'm rounding 2 hours and I'm getting on with my day. And, everyone's busy these days anyway. A lot of people, they're seeing family, friends, they're working, they've got other commitments. So being able to play speed golf and, if it takes you 30 minutes, an hour, you've got the rest of the day and just the adrenaline pump of running around the course.
Yeah.
Even if you had a bad round, you've worked on your cardio. So
I was going to say, if nothing else, golf courses are just a nice place to go for a run, but you're never allowed to go for a run there because obviously people are playing golf. So it's a pretty good track, isn't it? Because the hills up and down as well, I imagine you get quite a lot fitter than if you just ran on a treadmill for 5K.
Yeah, I mean, I could really see in the future, the first hour of tee times around a lot of golf clubs being for speed golf. So speed golf really starts, and then if you want to play casual golf, you play it afterwards. I can definitely see that coming in.
That'd be really fascinating, actually, wouldn't it? If that starts to come into some of the more modern thinking clubs.
Yeah, and for me, like I really think the sport's going to grow. Like I've never known anyone try it and be like, oh, you know what, that's not for me. Everyone who's done it has thought, wow, I love this.
Yeah. What do you think in terms of a spectator point of view as well? Because watching a 4-hour round of golf, say the Masters and stuff like that, they're always going to stay there. They're always going to be as popular as they ever were, a bit like the Ashes and stuff like that in cricket. But in terms of sitting down and broadcasting and watching a round of speed golf, you could have so many facets. It'd be so interesting, wouldn't it, if you have a field of 18 speed golfers and that 2 hours would go like that.
There's so much going on, and I think it's only going to improve with technology.
Yeah.
Once they get instant times and instant scores and they can track everything to the second.
Yes.
I think it's going to become a lot of fun.
I think speed gates would be interesting as well, wouldn't it? If you had to run, so at the tee boxes or something, you had to enter the tee box, and that means you had a time for how long it took you for the second hole or the third hole or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
That would be fascinating.
I mean, like you say, the sport's just starting, and there's so many ways it can be improved and developed.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to see it throughout its sort of iterations, shall we say. Right, if anybody wants to be a part of speed golf, enter into the next championship or get involved, what would be the best tips that you could offer people to start their journey into getting into British Speed Golf? Because you already came from a very high standard. You were a scratch golfer. Your 5K was already very, very respectable, if not very, very good. What would you sort of say people should work on first? If, like me, you're running a 30-minute 5K and you're a 16 handicapper, what do you think would be the best opportunity for me to improve the fastest?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got personal goals, haven't they? So I think the great thing about speed golf is it's not like you're just working on your golf. You've got so much. You've got your cardiovascular to work on. You've got your mental preparation. You have got your golf skill. So everyone's going to have positives and weaknesses. But the best thing for me is the community.
Fascinating, yeah.
And I think a lot of people know who maybe have played tournament golf in the past. Everyone's competing against each other, but it's not that friendly.
No, not in the slightest.
No. If you're putting to pay the bills, you're not really egging everyone else on around you. And I was amazed, like when I went to my first speed golf, it was like a family. Ask anyone a question, they're more than happy to give you advice, tell you their experience. So just get involved. Don't think about it. Give it a go. Get involved. Ask questions. There's a speed golf community out there where I think everyone's willing to give advice, and go from there. I mean, once my I'll tell you a story. But once my other half signed me up, she's like, "Oh, I signed you up for speed golf," and then I was thinking, right, okay. And I left it for about 2 weeks, and she's like. He's like, are you gonna start? And I was like, yeah. But I was really hesitant because I was thinking, what are these people gonna think of this guy running around the golf course? They're gonna be thinking like he's running away from the course ranger because he hasn't paid his green fee.
Yes. Yeah.
So the first day I went up, I was like, spoke to the greenkeepers. I was like, if there's a madman running around the golf course, don't worry, it's me. I'm training for speed golf. They're like, what's speed golf? So I explained to them and everything like that, and go from there.
I was going to say, this is one of the conversations that me and Ian were having on the day. Like, how do you even train for it? Obviously, getting the first tee time is the obvious answer. I realise that sort of thing, but you do get a lot of snooty people in golf. Like you mentioned, it's getting better, but it's not traditionally the most inclusive sport in the world, is it? Even though, as I mentioned, it is getting better at modern clubs. But a lot of people might turn their nose up at you if you turn up in the wrong shoes. So I don't want to go running in my golf shoes.
That's right. I think every golf club's different. I wrote a letter to my golf club just saying, look, really? I'm competing in the British Speedgolf Championship. Is it okay if I go out first? Just, mention to them that you're going to leave the course in, better than you found it.
Yeah.
Told the greenkeepers, and I said, look, don't get out of my way. I was like, if you're still cutting, I'll just go to the next tee and carry on. It was like that. Everyone was, really encouraging. The greenkeepers were saying, how you doing? How's your training going?
Really?
So it worked out really well for me.
What club is that, to give it a shout out as well?
Yeah, that's Alderby Park Golf Club in Hertfordshire.
Fantastic. Yeah, well done to them. And hopefully a lot of other clubs can take that mantra on, because really you're not affecting anybody, are you? If anything, you're getting out of everybody's way.
Exactly. And I'd like to mention, actually, when I took up speed golf or got put into speed golf, I wanted to do it for a good course. So I actually did it for Parkinson's UK. My dad's got Parkinson's, so I wanted to do it for a good course. So over the past month, all my WhatsApp groups and everything like that, I've told all my friends, I'm doing the speed golf challenge, and we've raised over £3,000. So that's absolutely amazing. So I'd just like to say thank you for everyone for helping out with such an amazing course.
That's absolutely astonishing. Can they still donate?
Yeah, they can still donate. So it's still going. So obviously a great course. Lots of people are affected by Parkinson's. And it's great to do speed golf for myself, but then it's great obviously to give back, and I really appreciate everyone supporting the course.
No, fantastic. I'll get the link off you, and I'll stick it in any descriptions that we put in or anything like that as well, because it's a great cause. Great. All right, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much, James. Is there anything else you'd like to shout out? I know you just sort of done it, but any people, organisers or friends and family or anything like that before we let you go? And also, I just remembered a bit of a pitch, although you've already done it, as to why people should get involved with the sport. I know you just mentioned the community and everything like that, but just any last thoughts on yourself?
Yeah, just like I said before, what a community. I mean, it's all positive, isn't it? You're playing golf, you're in the fresh air, you're thinking, your heart's pumping. There's no negative about it. Everything's great,
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy running. I probably more enjoy the feeling after I've done the run.
Yes.
But, I love golf. So fitness and golf, I think it was just made for me. And I think a lot of people are like that as well. They start the sport and they're just hooked.
People need to get involved. It needs to grow. If we can have
the best of everything. Try it. The sport's growing. It's getting bigger. More and more people are competing. And it's great. And, the sport's evolving.
I'd love to see it over a weekend. The first rounds being on the Saturday, and the Sundays being the finals. I think if we can get enough people involved.
Yeah, that's what happened with the European Open. So it was done on a Saturday, Sunday. So it was slightly different. Obviously, the British Open, different test, 36 in one day. I think my legs have only just recovered, but obviously it's all good.
We love to hear it, James. Big congratulations on winning the championship, and fingers crossed we will see you next year in more and more tournaments.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you to James Hardy, our new British Speed Golf champion, for coming on the podcast and having a chat to us. It was really great to hear his story. It's fascinating to me. I think the whole premise of the sport, and I mentioned it in the podcast, in the interview then actually, about the fact that we're at very beginnings of what it could be an extremely exciting iteration of golf and almost a completely new sport in itself in speed golf. James was excited at the fact that every time he turns up to an event, he learns something new. He can adapt, he can think outside the box and come up with a tactic that maybe other people will come to follow, and that everything's not already sort of accounted for. There's not a set technique or a set way that is proven to be the best, and that's one of the things that I think personally I get quite excited by the sport. I also think it's really exciting when a fledgling sport adaptation comes to the front as well, because as I mentioned, there are a lot of things that people have a problem with golf, and one of them being that the length of time it takes to play the sport. Broadcasting proper golf and going to watch proper golf, like the likes of the PGA Tours and stuff like that, Live Golf, they can be really entertaining because you've got 15 different cameras everywhere, and so there's always a shot going on wherever you are on the course. But realistically, I've broadcast plenty of golf. When you've only got one or two cameras, it's hard work. You see a shot every 3 minutes or so, and that's if you're lucky, so there's a lot of dead time to fill. If you were broadcasting speed golf, which I really hope within the next couple of years we get to do, then there's an opportunity where basically wherever you look, there is always something happening, and you can probably get more action more of the time, and things are quicker. You can digest the speed of it a bit quicker. You can digest the sport much better. I personally think it is a really good model, and it is the answer to... like cricket, the 100 is the answer to Test cricket. I think this could be the answer to a lot of those complaints in traditional golf in terms of digesting it. It's really good for short form content as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how all that comes out. Now, the next bit, I've talked about what I really like in speed golf, and that next bit I'm not going to enjoy so much, because unfortunately we're going to have to take a couple of weeks break from the Side Hustle Sport podcast. It is my fault. I didn't get enough content recorded in time, and I'm going on holiday tomorrow morning on Thursday, so I will be away for 2 weeks, which means even though we have just started this series, we're going to have to take a 2-week break. What I am excited by is the fact that when I come back, I'll be going to Brands Hatch, but that weekend, on the 5th of October, there is a whole host of new fixtures turning up. The season will have started, in handball specifically, so therefore the first episode back, I'm hoping, will be handball, and we will be able to bring in a new segment where we run down all the weekend's results and talk about how that impacts the league table, and hopefully get a bit of a report for that from each of the sides or each of the games that are going on as well. And that's something I want to sort of copy and paste into various different sports. Tag rugby is going to be difficult because that's all year round and they don't really have seasons in the same way. And korfball will be able to do it. Speed golf, we won't be because it's coming out of the season. But you get what I mean. Other sports that we bring in, disc golf, korfball, tchoukball, all that sort of thing, we should be able to do that. And that's really exciting for me. So fingers crossed, if there's anybody out there whose season is about to start in a slightly niche sport and we want to get involved and we like that idea, then this is the time to get into me, because over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be trying to line up a load of interviews as we come back and go into October and November. So with that being said, a big thank you. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Well done to James Hardy for being our British Speed Golf champion. Fingers crossed you guys enjoyed the episode, and if you follow along and subscribe, then you will see it pop up the next time. My name's been Jack Oliphant, and we will see you in October.